Chapter 33. When Rachel arrives at Izzy's apartment on Saturday morning, he is sitting on the couch wearing an undershirt. She notices how thin his arms are, thin and smooth. He is sitting completely still. He only glances up when she enters. She sits down next to him, links her arm through his. "Grandpa, how are you?"
"How should I be?"
"Everybody was worried about you."
"Who is this everybody?"
"Are you kidding, Grandpa? Everybody." Last night, Helena had called, then Louis, both of them anxious and feeling guilty. "Mom, me, and Daddy aside, I'm talking about my friends. They all called. They were all worried."
"Oh, your friends, the wild dancers."
"Did you know Mikey made that cake?"
"He's a baker?"
"No, he's going to be a pilot. He takes flying lessons."
"What about the skinny one? What can he do?"
"Louis? A lot of things. He's very nice." Okay, she thinks. That's enough about Louis. Let's not get into that this morning. "Grandpa, did you sleep on the couch?"
"I never left it."
"Was it comfortable?" He nods. It's remarkable, but he doesn't look particularly tired this morning.
"You're here early,"
he says. "Oh, am I?" She pretends innocence. In fact, she's been dressed and waiting to be here for hours. Very early in the morning, before it was even light, she had gone downstairs to the kitchen, picked up the phone and dialed his number. She wanted to hear his voice. She wanted to hear him say,
"Stop worrying, I'm okay. What's all this fuss about?"
Before his phone could ring, she came to her senses and hung up. "I wanted to call you last night, but it was too late."
"Last night," he says, "I saw Eva."
Rachel looks at him quickly. "You dreamed about Grandma?"
He is having none of that. "I saw her. She was just here. I saw her. She told me."
"Izzy, you're an old fool." "Well, Grandpa, why would she say that?"
"If you don't know, you're a young fool."
Rachel bends her head in acknowledgement. Touché. "Kind of a strenuous day," she says. How do you feel this morning, Grandpa?" He gives her a little smile.
"Like an old fool."
He gets up, shuffles into the bathroom, the whispery sound of his breath moving with him. She hears water running, the flushing of a toilet. When he comes back, she smells toothpaste and soap. His hair is combed. He's put on a green shirt, and a tie is looped around his collar. "I've never seen you wear a tie, Grandpa."
"No?"
He stands in front of the mirror, knotting the tie with fingers that shake slightly. He finishes the knot, smooths down the tie, and smooths down his hair. In the kitchen, he puts a slice of bread in the toaster, fries an egg with butter.
"Did you eat breakfast?"
"No, not really."
"You want something? I'll fry an egg for you."
"Egg in the morning?" She makes a face. "No thanks, Grandpa." He carries his food to the table and sits down. He forks egg onto his toast, takes a bite, and puts it down.
"The sun is shining."
He pushes aside his plate.
"I want to stay out for all day. What time is it?"
She looks at her watch. 8:30?
"It's late. Let's go."
He gets up, puts on his jacket. All morning they walk, then stop to rest, then walk again. Izzy seems appreciative of everything.
"Look at the trees," he says. "Look at those yellow leaves. Look at the sky. How blue."
By mid-morning, he's tired. He walks slowly, breathes with difficulty. Several times Rachel asks him if he wants to go back home.
No, he says, and he sniffs the air. Everybody's burning leaves. The best smell.
They eat lunch in the same little place where he had the maple walnut ice cream. Izzy picks at the walnuts, again barely eating anything. But he praises it.
Fine ice cream.
And when he praises the service and the restaurant,
very nice atmosphere.
I told you we'd come back. She's talking and smiling, but what she's really doing is watching him. Today, she's watching him every moment. Today, there's something about him that seems different. It's odd, but he's like someone very young. The bones in his face, in his cheeks, his forehead are shining. He criticizes nothing. Everything is good. They go out and walk again. Then they sit on a bench, watching the people on the street. Rachel buys a bag of jelly beans, sorts out the licorice ones for Izzy. He eats 2 and gives her back the rest. I'm having a good time, he says, and again they walk, always staying on the sunny side of the street. Izzy lifts his face.
I always like the sun.
They're on Baker Street when he stops in the middle of the sidewalk. Suddenly his face is covered with sweat.
I can't,
he says. Just that.
I can't,
he says again, barely getting at the words. Rachel holds on to him, holds him with both arms. Grandpa, don't fall down. Don't. She looks around, sees a hardware store across the street. Somehow, clutching him, holding on to him, supporting him, she gets him there, gets him inside. The woman behind the counter hurries, brings a chair. Izzy sits down.
Thank you, just have to rest.
His voice is a whisper. Rachel calls home. In 10 minutes, Manny and Shirley are there. Large and reassuring, they rush into the store. Manny helps Izzy up, supporting him toward the car. Shirley thanks the woman, thanks her over and over again. In the car, she sits down directly behind her father, her arms around him. Izzy seems to feel better. He sits in the passenger seat next to Manny and talks in his breathy voice.
Beautiful day. My granddaughter gave me a beautiful day.
Manny parks in the lot of Morin Towers, and they all go in. On Izzy's floor, just before they reach the door, he falls down. It happens quietly. One moment he's walking between them, the next he is on the floor. Ma, it's still the answering machine. Rachel has dialed Dr. North's number for the 3rd time in a row. Shirley leaves her post by the couch where Izzy is lying and takes the phone from Rachel. Dr. North, this is Mrs. Cooper again. Dr. North, I'm calling about my father, Mr. Shapiro. I called you once before. Please call me right back.
If he doesn't call soon, we're taking Dad to the hospital, Manny says, to the emergency room.
Shirley nods toward the couch again. Shirley nods, sits down by the couch again. Rachel pads down around the apartment in her stockinged feet. She can't sit still. She goes to the kitchen, looks in the refrigerator. Her stomach is gnawing shamelessly. In the cupboard, she finds an ancient can of baked beans and dumps them into a pan. When they're heated, she brings the pan and 3 dishes into the living room. Anybody hungry? I've got beans.
I'll have a little,
her father says. Her mother shakes her head. Rachel and her father sit down and have baked beans. The room is quiet. No sounds but Izzy's loud breathing and the clock in the kitchen with its crazy ticking.
This is good, her father says, and then, I'm glad you were with him, Rachel. I'm glad you were with him, sweetheart.
I shouldn't have walked him all over the place.
You said he wanted to stay out.
Yes, but...
She shakes her head. Don't blame yourself. You can't dictate to Izzy. It's the disease. It could have happened in the middle of the night when he was all alone.
The phone rings. I'll get it, Shirley says. It's Dr. North. Yes, we'll meet you there. She gets off the phone. Let's get Daddy ready. We're going to St. Joe's. We're going to St. Joe's. She bends over Izzy. Daddy, wake up. She shoves his shoulder gently. Daddy? Rachel has never seen her grandfather so weak. With Manny's help, he goes to the bathroom, takes a glass of water from Shirley, and has to rest after drinking it. His voice is thready, fading away. To Rachel he says,
Get me a clean shirt.
To Shirley he says,
My shoes are untied.
And to Manny,
a lot of bother.
To each of them one sentence parceled out, and that's it. That's all he has the energy for. The hospital is an old red brick building with narrow high windows. Manny parks near the emergency entrance, and Shirley runs into the building to get a wheelchair for her grandfather. By the time she gets someone's attention, Izzy is inside, walking slowly between her parents. The nurse clicks her tongue. You should have waited for me, sir. Then Dr. North is hurrying toward them. Hatless, his coat flying open.
Mr. Shapiro, what's this I hear?
You've been overdoing things? Me and the granddaughter did a little walking.
Yes, well, let's get you admitted and get some tests going. We'll see what's what here.
The doctor squeezes Izzy's shoulder. His voice is calm, reassuring.
We'll get these tests done and probably have you out there by a few days' time.
Just a quick note, I don't remember what Dr. North's voice was, so I'm just going to do this one, and so, yeah, you guys can tell me in the comments what he sounded like before. They move in a slow group toward the admitting office. The doctor hangs back with Manny, and Rachel, who's only a few steps ahead of them, hears the doctor say,
I don't think he'll be coming out again, Mr. Cooper.